Hi everyone, this is Spring, the fiber enthusiast. Welcome to my channel. So a little while back, I did a darning video on darning a sock with a disc and the hook contraption specifically designed for darning. But when I was doing that video, I explained that I would do a video the next opportunity that I had on how to do it with just random items that you may have around your house. So of course you're going to need a sock with a hole in it or a piece of fabric. That's up to you. A good heavy rubber band is helpful. Not necessary, but helpful. And some type of jar lid. This is probably off of like beets or pickles or something where the lid is rather large. So you're going to need a lid, of course a pair of scissors, and some sock yarn, either contrasting or the same sock yarn. And then you're going to need needles, a needle. And this is up to you as to which kind of needle you get. If you would prefer a long needle because you're working with a very large hole and you need a lot of room to work, you can use the weaving needle, or you can use a simple small darning needle. I will show how to use both of them and how each of them work. So I'm going to set them aside and move my sock. I had to darn there and on the heel for this pair of socks. On the sock that I'm working on today, it is just the toe. So we're going to take our lid here and place it up into the sock or area where the hole is. And you're going to want to get that about center, the hole about center of the lid. And you don't want your fabric to be pulled too tight and get all stretched out, or your darning patch will be too large. The next thing you're going to want to do is place that rubber band around the lid and the fabric. Again, trying not to stretch it out best as possible. And this just takes some work when you're doing it to make sure that you get it on there nice and straight where you have room to work all the way around. See if we can get it this way. Also, if you can't get it to stay on the lid, you can just rubber band the sock underneath the lid. That completely works too. I have done that. If you use a canning lid, one for a canning jar, it's wider and has a slight indentation in it sometimes, and that helps sometimes. We may end up going to just working underneath of it because this is probably going to slip off. All right, here we are. We're on. Nope, we're off. All right, so we'll just go ahead and do it underneath. Not a big deal. This particular sock fabric is saying, nope, not today. So again, just get your fabric on the lid with plenty of room to work, not too tight, not too loose, and then just wrap your rubber band around your fabric underneath. Perfectly okay. You just basically, all the rubber band is for is to help hold this in place while you're working on the fabric. That's why I said it is not necessary, but it does help. All right, I think I got it. Okay, so we're going to be working on this hole. And like I said in the other video, you're going to go 3 stitches, good stitches above and out on both sides and below. And you will need quite a bit of thread because you will be working from top to bottom and then going straight into working from side to side. So that's up to you. However big the project is that you're working on is to how much tail thread you're going to need. I'm going to start with the basic darning needle. And I'm going to start at the bottom. And I'm going to go 3 rows out from my last good row of stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to come down to the bottom here, and I'm going to go 3 stitches below the last stitch that is available, that is good in this area. So on the bottom side of the hole, I want to go 3 stitches below, which is there. And you're just going to pull your tail thread through those stitches like that. And again, you're pulling a good amount of tail thread up through there. So just take your time so that way it doesn't knot up on you. Now you're going to go straight up that same row of stitches to the 3rd row of stitches above your hole. So I'm going to follow this up to make sure I'm in the right one. Check to see where I'm at here. So that's 2. I need to go 1 more. And again, you're just going to pull that tail thread all the way through. And it's the same concept as using the disc, only you're using a lid. That's all. And then you're going to go to the next row and pull that tail thread through. Sorry for my squeaky chair here. Now you're going to go straight up and go through the next row of stitches over, and just keep working that across until you have reached 3 rows out from the last set of good stitches here. I'm also going to link my previous darning video in a card in the corner, as well as at the end of this video. I'm going to go ahead and work across, and then I'll show you how to turn and work back through and finish this off. Okay, so I'm coming up to my last couple of trips across here. I'm going to go and take that one up and come down 1. And you might have to adjust your strands as you go, being that you're kind of working on some looser fabric than using one of those darning discs. So now I'm going to come back down and catch this stitch down here, and the way that I'm doing it so that way it kind of is underneath the strand here, so that way I can kind of wrap that strand. Now this isn't necessary, it's just how I'm doing it. So now I'm going to just pull up under the next stitch over. Now I'm going to switch over to this weaving needle so that way you can see the difference between using this darning needle versus the weaving needle. This helps, the weaving needle actually will help with the weaving part where you're weaving in and out of those strands that you just made across from up at the top down to the bottom and back up to the top. Okay. So the next step, now that I'm attached to this corner, is we're going to start weaving in and out. Now you can use the sharp end or the blunt end, that's entirely up to you. A lot of times I like to use the blunt end because it's easier for me to weave in and out of these strands without sticking the sharp point of the needle straight through. You just need to watch that you don't poke yourself, of course, with it. All right, so here we are. You just weave in and out every other strand. And then on our back pass, we're going to take the opposite strands because that's weaving. Okay, don't pull it too tight or you'll pull everything together and make it all pouched up instead of just darned. So now what I want to do is see where our starting strand is here. I want to come through right by it. The next stitch up, I want to pull that tail thread through. That way the corners are together. Now we're going to go back through and do the opposite strand. So if you're over it on the previous run through, you're going to go under it. Then over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, all the way across. And then pull your tail thread through on the other side. And you're just going to anchor off just like we did using the disc in that tutorial. You're just going to continue to anchor off on each side. And you can actually run through with your needle right behind it and squish it down. Hold the corner where it came through and adjust. You can take the tip of your needle as well and push that strand down. Then again, you're just going to want to anchor it out here at the corner, right about where you're going to insert the needle for your next pass through. And again, you're going the opposite of what you did on your last. So if you were over the strand, you're going under it. And as you start running out of room, you'll have to start manipulating the strands by hand a little bit more. There we go. And while your needle is in for your next pass, you can also push those strands down just to beat them together. And now you just pull through. Continue working on that, and when I get close to the last row, I will show you how I finish it off. Okay, so I've come down to the last little bit here, and I don't have a whole lot of room left, so on my last back pass, I'm just weaving in and out of the stitches and my darned stitches as I go, making sure that I am catching every single loop of the darned stitches from going up and down, as well as catching the last of the good stitches from the sock fabric. So just kind of trying to make sure that I lock them all together. And come out that other side there. And I still have quite a bit of tail thread, so that's because I'm going to do my other sock with this same one, with the same amount of tail thread here. Okay, so then all I'm going to do now that I'm here is weave back and forth, just kind of try to even this out just a little bit until I get down to where my starting tail is. Then what I'll do is I'll shove both this end and the starting tail through to the inside, turn it inside out, and sew in the end. Now that is all there is to that. And darning with a lid, a rubber band, a weaving needle, or even a darning needle. Those are entirely up to you as to, you know, what your preference is. Like I said, if you use a canning jar lid, you'll have better luck getting the rubber band to stay around the outside of it versus underneath. But as you can see, it works this way too. So I'll just take my lid out, and then I will take those tail threads through and weave them in and out on the inside, and it'll be done. I hope you've enjoyed the second demonstration of how to darn a sock with just random things from your house instead of purchasing a darning disc with all the little latch hook things on it and all that stuff. So it can be done just with some simple basics from around the house. All right, everyone, be blessed and be a blessing. Until next time, bye for now.